G'day guys, Sam Hadden here, client manager and strategy specialist here at Infinite Wealth. Just making another video today. I made one about 6 months ago regarding the Perth property market and the economy. And I had quite a lot of good feedback from that, and also some people asking me for an update. And boy, has there been a lot of changes and a lot of things going on over the last 6 months. Quite positive for Perth. Obviously, there's still quite a bit of challenges with interest rates and a lot of the other stuff that's going on. But in terms of Perth, our economy is very, very strong. The property market is really starting to take off. So I wanted to go through some data with you today and just get your thoughts on this, and also open up the conversation and just share this knowledge and this value. So hopefully I'll make this quick video very good value for your time, and try and be nice and quick and concise for you. Just give you a quick little introduction to myself first. Who am I? For those who don't know me, again, I'm a client manager and a strategy specialist here at Infinite Wealth, and I'm very passionate about wealth creation and property investment, and I help clients to build their portfolios with my team here. I have 14 years experience investing in property. I now own 7 properties as well as some managed funds. I'm certified with the Real Estate Institute of Western Australia, and I've studied professional finance with the Monarch Institute. And I also am a member of the Property Investment Council of Australia. I'm a 9-year member at Infinite Wealth, and I've assisted clients to invest over $15 million. So what I think I might just start with is just a quick little update about the market. One thing that people kind of asked me for with the last one was just looking at maybe some of the top suburbs and just a bit of an update on the house prices. So this is the top 10 growing suburbs over the last 3 months, according to Rewa and CoreLogic. So good old Cottesloe by the beach there, up at $3.3 million. It's had a price surge of 9% over the last 3 months. Obviously quite expensive price there, so it's taking quite a long time for those houses to sell, which is not surprising. But then a lot of the other areas, as you can see in the rest of the top 10 here, are the more affordable areas where the sort of main population live in the middle class, especially with interest rates going high. A lot of the population and investors are more pushed into this median house price range. So you can see Pearsall up to 620,000 with an 8% growth. Hammond Park, I bought a property here many years ago for about $430,000. The median house price up to $674,000. Up 7.7% over the last 3 months. Ferndale 580, one and up, 640 grand. Coolangup 488, Kelmscott 465, Seville Grove 490, Armidale 443, and Wellard 535. Now remember, guys, this is the median house price, so this is a collection of what's been sold over the last 3 months. With some of the higher selling and lower selling properties, but whatever that median is the most common price that have been sold in that area. So it doesn't mean that there's not houses that have sold for a lot more than that. Again, it's the median house price, which can be a little bit flawed, but it's a good metric to look at. Okay. Now I wanted to share one example here. I was actually helping I'm helping one of my friends to buy his first property, and we were looking at this one here. It's a very lovely renovated home in St. James, which is just near Victoria Park. If people don't know where that is, 600 square metre block of land. It's quite an old house. Now, just want to see here, view property campaign. Just wanted to show you guys something here. I mean, this is really where the market's going right now. They initially sort of advertised the property from 700K. And as you can see here, they actually did an online bidding system. So you could see the bids go up over time. Bidding 725, and then went up 765, 825. And then the final bid on that property, $875,000. That property sold for, as you can see here, in September for $875,000. So just to give you an idea of really how much the Perth market is going right now, it's so short in supply. It's creating a lot of competition. People are really offering well over what properties are advertised for. So we're going to start seeing that over the next few months, that all the sales data, we're going to see these house prices start to come out and reflect in the median house price. Now, just want to bring some perspective back to the total Australian housing market. A lot of people talk about, the debt being a problem and interest rates, and people have got too big mortgages and blah, blah, blah. This is really good to get some perspective, right? The total residential real estate market in Australia is worth $9.7 trillion. And then over here, the total outstanding mortgage debt is only $2.1 trillion. Okay. Now, houses hold 57% of wealth in Australia. Now, it is the biggest economy, way bigger than superannuation, way bigger than the Australian stock market, way bigger than commercial property. So the government have a vested interest in keeping the Australian property market tight. It is not going to fall down, especially when there's such a low level of debt. And as you can see down in the bottom left-hand corner here, 32% of households owned without a mortgage, right? So over a third of households, no mortgage, okay? And then 26% of houses are owned by investors, so renting from private landlords who can claim tax on the interest and getting rental income. So very small percent of the market that will be really affected by these higher interest rates. And then there's inflation, right? Again, perspective. If you look over this is over 100 years worth of inflation data. The black line is house prices and the red line is inflation. And as you can see, pretty much every time over the last 50 years, every time that inflation has gone up, house prices have also gone up, so has rent. So inflation is hurting people with their cost of living and their household expenses right now, but it's actually most of the time a good thing for property, okay? Now, this is the national property clock. So this is obviously not a perfect science, but it shows you, generally speaking, how the property moves in circles. Now, I'm going to move through this quite quickly. You may want to pause this and just have a read for yourself. But as you can see, because of the interest rates over the last 12 months, a few markets have gone through a slowdown and a downturn. But Perth is very much on that upswing at the moment. Got a long way to go to get to the peak. Sydney, Melbourne, and all those markets have all gone through a bit of a downswing and they're recovering right now. So Perth is definitely leading the charge. And where we can see that is a result in the purchases, right? So the demand. Now, this is the percentage of investors that bought properties in Australia over the last 12 months. Now, number one was Queensland. Queensland's got a lot of hype because of the Olympics and, you know, a lot of people moving out of Sydney and Melbourne. But it's actually been dropping. It's dropped 6% last year, but it's still nearly 38% of investor purchases are in Queensland. Now, everyone is realizing that Perth is on the up and 31% of investors are coming into Perth, okay? So that's up 22% from last year. Big numbers. Now, again, just on this train of thought with regards to interest rate, this is an infographic made by Propertyology. And in the middle of Australia here, you can see it says from 2002 to 2008, interest rates went all the way up to 9.5%. Definitely not going to get there this time around, but big interest rate jump. And look at Perth on the left-hand side here. Perth grew 147% during that 6 years, okay? Now, that was a big mining boom. I don't think we're going to get the same boom this time around, but just goes to show you Sydney on the right-hand side here only grew at 26% while interest rates were high. Melbourne only 66%. So it's these smaller capital cities that have all the infrastructure and resources, inflation hits them, and they really grow well during this time. And then looking at the current statistics when it comes to the WA economy, unemployment still the lowest in Australia, 3.6%. Population growth, according to the ABS, 2.8%. That is the highest in Australia. Nearly 80,000 people moved to Perth in the last 12 months. That is crazy. We're almost back to the record high population growth that we had in the early 2000s. And we've got the highest wage growth in the country. We've also got our economy is leading economic growth, according to CommSec. We have $39 billion worth of infrastructure coming into Perth over the next 4 years, new roads, the new train system, MetroNet, hospitals. You see all the cranes up in the city, lots going on, lots of money coming in here. And we still have a state surplus budget of $3 billion. The resource sector is forecast to make $450 billion. With the war in Ukraine and Israel, it's obviously very terrible, but it does put a lot of pressure on energy, resources, commodity. So it's actually going to be quite good for our market. We also still have the most affordable housing market in Australia. House prices and rent relative to incomes and wages, and we have a strong financial system. Again, you can see all the big major outlets reporting, you know, record profits and talking about mining boom and everything that's going on in our resource sector. Oops, excuse me. And then we have our population growth. Federal budget predicts more than 700,000 migrants will move to Perth by the end of next year. Australian Financial Review, Australian population will hit 30 million 2 years faster than expected. Okay, so population growth, immigration is absolutely soaring. It's going to put a lot of demand on our housing markets. You can see here, this is population growth stats from the TUSIC. Obviously fell off a cliff during COVID, but now going up to record highs. As you can see, this line through the middle here is the average population growth for Australia, and it's just absolutely soaring now. 2023, 2024 is going to just boom population there. Then here's what I was talking about before. So this is the ABS statistics. Western Australia, 78.3 thousand people moved here in the last 12 months. That's a 2.8% population growth, the biggest in Australia. And again, I did show this earlier in the year on my last report, but I just want to show it again. It's so important. We're only building about 15,000 houses a year at the moment, okay? Now, just to keep up with population growth, we need to be building almost 23,000 houses. So we're going to have, again, another 7,000 deficit next year, okay? Now, you got the lowest vacancy rate in 40 years. So we've never had such an undersupplied property market in 40 years. And the housing shortage, you know, if we're going backwards 7,000 houses a year, it's forecast we're going to be another 22,000 houses short in the next 4 years, and we've already got a critical shortage, okay? So where are people going to live? People are going to pay more for rentals and more for properties. It's going to get more competitive. It's not going to end anytime soon. And then, as you can see, housing supply since 2015-16 has just been gradually dropping. And this is another good infographic from Propertyology. From 2019 to 2023, our population has increased by 1 million people, and yet the advertised rental properties have dropped from 77,000 to 36,000. So advertised rental properties have more than halved, and yet our population has grown by over 1 million people in the last 4 years. And then this is the vacancy rate. You know, as you can see, the average in the middle is 3%. So anything above that is an oversupply, and that's where typically you'll see prices start to come back a little bit, and rental markets be a bit soft. Anything less than 3% is undersupplied. Nationally, the vacancy rate right now is 1.1%, but in Perth, we're more like hovering around 0.5 to 0.7%. And then this is a really good piece of data where you can just very clearly see orange is the supply of housing and the blue line is prices, okay? So as you can see, the supply start to increase. So if we look at sort of 2012, this is where Perth started to slow down. Housing supply was increasing relative to demand, and then house prices started to come down until that housing supply started dropping in about 2018. Our population started booming again, mining started booming again, and look at that, house prices go up. So orange, supply goes down, blue, house prices go up. It's pretty much like clockwork, okay? Very easy to understand. Rental values increased another 10% this year. The median rent in Perth now is $595 on average, but for a 4-bedroom, you're more looking like a median of $640 a week. And this is the house listings and house sales. So in Perth, just look on the left-hand side here. So this is a total of houses, units, and land. So total properties on the market this week in Perth, 5,000 houses. Last year, we had, or properties, I should say, which is houses, units, and land. Last year, we had 8,000 properties on the market. 4 years ago, we had 14,000 houses on the market. So we have seen the supply of property drop almost threefold. Then we have the median house price in Perth. Now, this is different depending on what sources you look at. You know, different sources have got, you know, Perth's median house price more in the 630, 640 right now. So it just really depends on what data and what month you're looking at. 4 bedrooms up to 628,000. As I said, yeah, that was REWA. This is CoreLogic. So now we've got Perth at $634,000 on CoreLogic as of the 1st of October. But what's really important here is when you just look at the relative prices of Perth, right? And people sort of say, oh, you know, we're at the top of the market. Things are heated right now. I mean, look at Adelaide, 746,000. They have a much smaller economy and about half the population that we do. Okay, 746,000. Just goes to show you how undervalued Perth still is. Brisbane, 850,000. Melbourne, 965. Canberra, 953. Sydney, 1.3, nearly $1.4 million. Okay. So very plausible to see Perth sort of catching up to where Brisbane is now over the next couple of years. So looking like house prices by rising another couple of 100,000 in median house value. And then again, affordability and incomes, we can see that WA again remains one of, if not the most affordable housing market. So the yellow is how much income is being spent on mortgages, and green is how much of income is being spent on rent. Okay, how would you like to be in Sydney or Melbourne in Victoria, spending nearly 50% of your income on your mortgage, versus WA only 34%? Now, statistics show us that when mortgages hit about 50% of income, that is where the market starts to get a bit depressed. Hence why Sydney came back quite a bit last year, but they're actually rebounding a bit now. And as you can see, WA has the second highest incomes in Australia at $1,937 per week. So we've actually got higher average incomes than Melbourne and Sydney and Brisbane. Okay. Article here just in the press the other day, KPMG again saying that the house price in Perth gone up 638,000. And saying that it's going to hit a new record of $752,000 over the next year, in the next financial year. So I definitely think that that's very plausible. And then you've also got Westpac Bank's forecast here. So they do a forecast across all the major cities. A lot of the major banks now are doing the same thing. As you can see here, you've got the colors, right? So 2023, then 2024, 2025. They've got Perth growing 8% this year, 8% next year, and then 6% in 2025. So all forecasting strong growth for the next 3 years in Perth. And SQM Research, I went through this one last time as well. They've got a forecast of 4 to 13%, depending on where we end up with the interest rates and inflation. They said if it peaks at 8% and comes back down to 5%, or if we get some rate cuts towards the end of the year, we could even get higher. But we've already hit 8 to 9% growth this year. So this one here is proving to be pretty true as well. Again, rental forecast, another 12 to 15% this year. We're seeing that to be true on the rental market as well. Rental market just keeps on soaring. So capital growth 4 to 13% this year. As I said, we're already sitting on about 8% already. We're already well into 10, 12% rental increase. So what can history tell us? You look at Perth. A lot of people say, property market every 7 to 10 years. But what you need to do is you need to look at it from a bigger perspective. It actually takes a little bit longer. 1970 to 1976, property prices doubled. Then again, from 85 to 89, property prices doubled again. Then you get to the year 2000, house price of 150. By 2007, they jump up to 450. And then they didn't do much for many, many years there. And then now we're coming into the next boom here. I thought this was a really good little piece of insight to show you how property prices move every 15 to 20 years. And they go through these big booms and then just very moderate growth and then big booms. And Perth prices being very tied to commodity prices. Again, 70s, late 80s, little bit in the 90s, and then big boom here in the 2000 to 2012 period. So it's really interesting to see how our property market is also very tied to the commodities and market and the resources and all those kind of things. So markets move in patterns, they move in cycles. History tends to repeat often more than not. What do they say? History repeats, but it doesn't always rhyme. So it's different every time, okay? So that concludes my presentation there. I hope that was very valuable for you and gave you a lot of insights as to the economy and the market and what's going on right now. If this interests you, or if you've got any questions, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, or reach out to me, or if you feel that I might be able to help you in some way and you'd like to just maybe explore your options and maybe some of your financial goals, I'd be happy to have a discussion with you. And I'll also be releasing some webinars as well soon. So stay tuned, and Have a great day.